Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Friday, December 28th, 2018. And tonight I'm going to try and keep this pretty short. I'm showing you here the smoke from Mount Etna from today from NASA Worldview. So we see that it's not as much as what we saw yesterday. But I want to go over my comments that I got under my video from last night where I went over the volcano's sulfur dioxide and earthquake report. The first comment that came in was John Kelly, and he said the first plume, meaning the smoke from Mount Etna, was the early exhaust from Mount Etna. The second plume contained heavy smoke that shows up nicely on the satellite view. So let's look at that and see what he's talking about. So what I was showing yesterday was this view, and you can see Mount Etna here. This is Sicily, and here's Italy over here, and how the plume comes way down off of the island. So that was from December 27th, and then from the 26th, so he called that the second plume, and from December 26th was the first plume, where it looks like straight lines coming out. So I don't know how that can be the initial gas coming out with it being in straight lines. It still baffles me, but that's what John Kelly said. So thank you for that comment and explanation, John Kelly. And so here it is from yesterday, and here it is from today on NASA Worldview. So we can see how much less is coming out now, although there's still quite a bit of sulfur dioxide being released when you look at cams from this area and also from Krakatoa. Now it's still cloudy over Krakatoa, so we can't see what's going on over there. And while we're on NASA Worldview, I have a very interesting thing to show, and we'll go back to a couple more comments in a second. I didn't get very much discussion on my video from last night. I don't know if people were busy or just, didn't have anything to say, but anyway, I'm going to relate something interesting that I saw over here on NASA Worldview from today with a large earthquake that happened. So what we're going to be looking at, I'm going to pull up my earthquakes here, is this earthquake right here off the coast of Russia that was a 5.5, and it happened at 5:03 this morning Pacific time. It was 49 kilometers deep, and it was 127 kilometers south-southeast of Kurilsk, Russia, and this is in the Kuril Islands. So if we zoom in here, just to get an idea where this is, it's on the red line coming down on the west side of the Pacific Plate on this ring of fire, and this is Japan, this is Haikodu, or however you say it, Japan, and then this this landmass, or this little island over here, is Russia. This is Russia, and then if you zoom in, this is called the Strait of Tartar. So we're going to be looking at that, and this island is Sokolinske Oblast. So I want you to pay attention here, and as we look at what's going on, so the earthquake happened over here to the southeast. It was a 5.5 to the southeast of this Russian island and just east of Hokkaido, Japan. And so we're going to be looking in this area here on NASA Worldview. So I'm going to zoom in. So this is the area that we're going to be zooming into here. And I think you're going to find something interesting. This is from today on NASA Worldview. Now remember, the earthquake was over here in these islands, just east of Hokkaido. And look at this. As I'm zooming in, look at this. Over the Strait of Tartar is heavy beaming. Evidence of heavy beaming. Remembered, I've been talking about the beaming and evidence of it. Now this is probably one of the best examples of beaming that you can find on NASA Worldview. And I can find evidence of beaming every single day on NASA Worldview if I just sit and look. And I was just looking this morning and found this, and then I remembered that there had been an earthquake over here, and so does the beaming have an effect? Did it make the earthquake? I don't know. Can it have a connection? Absolutely, it can have a connection, because with the beaming, if depending on well, not depending, this beaming comes from like an instrument like HARP or an ionospheric heater of some kind, and what it does, it heats up the atmosphere, and if it's directed into the earth, it can heat up the earth as well. And I'm thinking that this is one of the reasons there's so much melting of the sea ice and the ice not refreezing up in the Arctic. I've also seen evidence of heavy beaming in the Antarctic, and the ice is melting really fast down there. So I think this is another thing we need to add to our things that we look at. And I know that just traditional people looking at climate science or climate change are going to take issue with my views, but I don't really care. These are my views, and this is my research that I'm bringing to you, and you know, if you don't like it, that's okay. If you don't agree with it, that's okay. But this is just what I'm seeing. So we see the beaming over here in the Strait of Tartar, right over here, and see that that's actually on another red line. It's a minor red line that comes down, and then we had this earthquake here, this 5.5, over by this major red line. So I wanted to show you that before we get into the earthquake report. That was of great significance to me. And then going back, Tom Bell says, "Brilliant work, Margo." Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the nice comment there. And then Hugh Jazzoli today left this comment. Now he tracks methane. He likes to track methane over on CAMS. Now that, you know, he's been watching my videos and knows how to go over there. And he says, Thursday methane is up. Oh boy, it is bad. So thank you, Hugh, for keeping us apprised of this. So we click on the link, and this is methane, and it's for Thursday, which is yesterday, the 27th. And he has the area as global, and he's got it chosen 500 HPA. So that's about 18,000 feet up. This is the methane levels going up through the atmosphere at 18,000 feet, or about halfway up through the atmosphere. And we can see that it's gathering over the Arctic in very high numbers, so it's in the red. Even with the new color scale, it's in the red, and it's in the black. And this is I'm not sure if this is the correct color scale. So so if we switch this to surface, you can see methane, and you can see it's coming up in the yellow, and if we do a refresh, we'll get the new color ledger down here at the bottom. You have to refresh it to get the new color ledger. And so this red, this the brick red that we were seeing is actually 2100 parts per billion, and then the blackish goes from anywhere from 2140 up to 10,000 parts per billion, and that's correct on the 500 HPA as well. So we can see that we have methane coming up in the Arctic, out of the Arctic Ocean here, and this is where the sea ice is having a hard time coming back here. We can see it's covering up in Europe and India and China and over here in Brazil and different things. So, but I know people are really interested in methane, especially over the Arctic. So let's run this, and we can actually see, and since this is a new scale, I'll go ahead and load this up. So this is the new scale, and remember this kind of orangey color, I mean not the orange, but the gold, the darker gold, was red in the old ledger. So that's the color that's coming up, so pretend that that's red that you're seeing from the old ledger. And so that is coming up out of the Arctic Ocean. This is into the forecast period now, but from Thursday it's again waves and waves of methane coming up. And just because they changed the color ledger doesn't mean that it's gotten better. So let's go, if you want to see what it was earlier this week, we can go to Wednesday, and you can see it coming up in waves. Here's the East Siberia ice shelf over here, and look how it's red coming up from beside Norway. And here's Novaya Zemlya, and there's bursts of red to, and so it's in higher levels than with the red. Now this is in a higher zone. That's like 2100 to 2120 parts per billion there. And you can see it's streaming up in waves like we were seeing at the end of November and the first part of December. And see, it's now even streaming up in red. right on the edge of the land there, the edge of the coast. So, you know, we're not out of the woods yet, just because it's cold up there and we've got some semblance of sea ice. It's not enough. So there's that. So thank you, Hugh, for bringing that to our attention. So I'm going to what I'm going to do is pull up the earthquakes. I'm going to leave the other as a backdrop, and I'm going to be zooming in so I have a bigger picture of the earthquakes. It's going to be a little easier to see, I'm thinking. So what I'm going to start with is 1 day magnitude 2.5 and higher. There have been 32 earthquakes in the last 24 hours like that. And then we'll go over to all magnitudes to finish up the small ones. And there are 227 earthquakes in the last 24 hours of all magnitudes. So we're going to start over here with this one that came in at a 4.5 in Duopu, China at 10 kilometers deep. And so there's the one in China. We saw this one in Russia. Let's hop up here and finish up. Here we've had 2 more smaller ones off of the coast of Kamchatka, a 4.8 and a 4.6, both 10 kilometers deep. There's been this 4.4 off the coast of off the southern end of Japan, 97 kilometers deep. Here's another one over by the red line, 4.7, and this was 10 kilometers deep. The Philippines had a 4.6 that was 142 kilometers deep. That was quite deep. And then here's a large one, 5.7. Let's look at this. This is at Papua New Guinea. It was actually on land, 41 kilometers deep. This happened at 1903 Pacific time. So this happened at 7:03 last night Pacific time. So it was as I was finishing up my report from last night that came in. I haven't followed up. I haven't had time to follow up on any of these earthquakes to see if there's been any damage or anything. I've been out most of the day driving around in lovely Reno on Friday afternoon before New Year's. It's a nightmare. Okay, here in the Southern Pacific, we've had a 4.8 at New Caledonia, a 4.8 at Fiji, a 4.6 at Fiji, and a 4.3 at Fiji. So remember, this is a real active area. It's on the red line as well. So that's been very active. Then over here, we've had a 4.8 on the Central East Pacific Rise, right on the red line. And There was a 4.3 in Chile, 96 kilometers deep. Here's a 4.5 at Molagavita, Colombia in South America, 156 kilometers deep. There's a 4.8, 92 kilometers south-southwest of Chirilagua, El Salvador, 46 kilometers deep. And now for the Dominican Republic, I'm going to do all magnitudes because we have little ones on here as well. We've got 11 over here in our viewing area. There was a 3.6 at Puerto Rico at 11:22 this morning, 75 kilometers deep. 2.7, 1.8, 2.2, 2.3, 2.8, 2.9, 3.1 at San Antonio, Puerto Rico, 3.2 at San Antonio, Puerto Rico, 2.3, and 3.5. So we can see that these are increasing in magnitude, and some of them are kind of overlapping and kind of in the same areas. So that's kind of ramping up. And now we're ready for the United States and Hawaii. So we'll stay on this all magnitudes map, and let's look at Hawaii. They've had 6 volcanoes in the last 24 hours. There was a little one, a 1.8 in the ocean. Then there was a 2.6, 1.8, 1.8, 1.8, 2.2, and that was it. Okay, that was the 2.6. So there's that. Those were on the mainland of Hawaii. Now let's go over to the United States and see what's going on. Of interest is this one here, a 2.3 at Pocahontas, Arkansas. It was shallow, it was 1.6 kilometers deep, but this is in the New Madrid hazard zone. If we turn that on, we can see here's that earthquake, and this is the New Madrid hazard zone seismic area here. Then there was a 3.0 at Fairview, Oklahoma. And let's look at Yellowstone area while we're over here. So this whole yellow area coming down is part of coming down from the Yellowstone hazard area. And turn that off. Okay, we've got one coming in the Yellowstone area. It was a small one here, a 1.9. It was a quarry blast, 6 kilometers east-southeast of Butte, Montana. It was minus 2 kilometers deep, so that was on a hill. So that was a quarry blast that happened at 12:05 p.m. today, Pacific time. So then here's one in Utah, a 1.3 near Netfe, Utah, 6.8 kilometers deep. Now let's go to Nevada. this little diamond, another explosion. That happened at 4:20 today near Tonopah. And let's go ahead and do these down here in the southern part. There was a minus 0.1, 0.9, 1.4, and 0.9. So more small ones down in this southern area. Then here's one at Walker Lake Valley. This is Walker Lake. 0.6 at Hawthorne. 2.6 at Hawthorne. And a 0.7 at Hawthorne. So some more small ones. But the 2.6 is getting kind of up there. Then here was one at Carson City, a 0.5 at Carson City, 7.2 kilometers deep. And one up here at Cold Springs, Nevada, 0.5. This is actually northwest of Reno. It's still considered the Reno area. 8.5 kilometers deep. Then while we're here, here was a 1.2 at Truckee. This is, I consider Truckee almost part of the Reno area too, because it's really easy to get there just on I-80. A lot of people commute back and forth from Reno to Truckee and so forth. So I consider that part of the Reno area. So now let's go down through California on this east side. Here at Mammoth Lakes, we've had 5, a 0.3, and they'll show up blue when I click on them. 0.6, 0.3 again in the same place as the other one, 0.9 and 0.7. So that's a volcanic area down there. I missed this one. Here's a 1.5 at Columbia, California. And 2.3 at Bear City, California. Okay, we had one just over the border at Progreso, Baja, 4.4. Here was a quarry blast of 1.5, 6 kilometers east-southeast of Chula Vista, California, 0.7 kilometers deep. So there's that. Here's one that showed up right on the edge of the Salton Sea, a 1.5. And then let's look at these. Here's a 1.8. I'll just click around 1.9. These are getting a little larger. 1.0, 1.1 at Palomar Observatory. We've been seeing that has been getting at the Palomar Observatory some earthquake activity the last few days. Okay, let's zoom in and see how many we have in this area. We've got 29 earthquakes here. So this is the Cahuilla Indian Reservation here, and there's a whole bunch to the west of that. And so I'm just going to click them and call them off. 0.5, and then they'll show up blue where I click on them. 1.6, 1.1, 0.6, 0.8, 0.8, 1.2, 0.4, 0.9 up there, 0.9, 0.8 at Idlewild, 1.1, 1.1, 0.5, 0.8, 0.5, 2.3 over here on the east side over here. That's our largest one so far at Anza, California. 1.1 next to that. 0.7 back over at Kauai. 2.3, that's the largest one over there. 1.1, 1.8, 1, 0.9, 0.7, 0.5, 0.5, 0.6, and 1.9. So having a swarm over there, for whatever reason, I'm going to have to watch Dutch Sense and see what he says about why those are up there. So, not big enough to do a lot of damage. We saw the Palomar Observatory. Let's come on up. Here's one about to fall off the map. It's turning yellow. 0.9 at Moreno Valley. 1.1 at Muscoy, California. 1.9 at Villa Park. 1.3 at Orange, California. So these are more in Los Angeles. We haven't seen activity actually in Los Angeles in the last few days. Here's a 1.2 at Encino, California. Okay, we saw the 1.3 at Muscoy. So let's come on, let's back out. And we saw the Victorville 2.3. Now we're going to come up this San Andreas fault line. 2.0 at San Leandro. 0.9 Richmond Heights. 1.5 Columbia. And we saw those at Tom's Place and all that, Mammoth Lakes. 1.9 Angwin. Let's look at this cluster at the geysers. There are 14 here today. I'll just click on them and you can see where they were. A 1, 1.3, 1.4, 0.3, 1.2, 1.6, 1.1, 1.6, 1.1, 1.6, 0.8, 0.9, 0.9, and 0.8. So there's that group. We saw that. There's Oroville. Nothing happening up there. Here's Chico. Okay, we saw Truckee. Here we had a 1.3 at Quincy. A 0. That was because of the algorithms. That was a microquake at Mineral. We had another quarry blast just north of Redding, a 1.6 magnitude quarry blast. Mine is 0.8 kilometers deep. It was up on a hill or in a mountain. And this is Shasta Lake, so it was just south of part. It says 9 kilometers northeast of Shasta Lake, California. I guess the town of Shasta Lake. But there is a lake called Shasta Lake. It looks like it was right on the highway, right next to the highway there. So they were doing some blasting up there for whatever reason. Here's this one, 2.7 at Petrolia. Now that's another, we saw another one there yesterday, I think. Looks like it's right on that red line. Yep, it's right on it. 0.8 kilometers deep. Then here's one up here at Portland, a 1.5, 15 kilometers deep. Right at Portland, Oregon. We saw that one in Montana. Now let's head up to Alaska and we'll finish up. See if there are any in these Aleutian Islands. Nothing showing up there. Let's see if I can get most of Alaska on my screen. Okay. 104 earthquakes is what we're seeing here. They're peppered around, coming up here and up just like a north-south line, peppered through the state. And then at Anchorage here is where the majority of them are. Still, we're seeing 68 right here in the Anchorage area. But I'm going to zoom back out on Alaska and let's see the magnitudes of these. We're seeing 1.2 and up. There's a 2 at Redoubt Volcano, 2.0 there. 2.2. Here's, now we're getting up into the 2s at Big Lake, which is where that cluster is. It's called Big Lake or Anchorage. 2.4 Ruby up here. That's a little bit higher. Then these are in the 1s. 2.1 at Willow. 2.4 down here at Old Iliamna, Alaska. Then these are in the 1s. Then 2.1, 2.4 up there. 2.4 Big Lake. So we're not seeing the 4s. Those have gone down now. That's the larger ones. These are 2s. Here's a 2.6 at Anchorage. So these are in the 2s. I didn't see any 3s. So 2.4 at Redoubt again, 2.5 at Anchorage. So these were 2s and under, 1s and 2s here. So let's see if anything else has come in while I was doing the report. It looks like a 1.1 came in at Hawthorne, Nevada, and some small ones have come in up in Alaska. We just saw all those. We saw the, oh, here's a new one. Oh no, okay, that's Alaska. We saw that all the Alaska ones We saw the California ones. So the ones that have come in have been small. We haven't had any major ones since I started my report. So that's our show for tonight. So it's Friday night. I hope everyone has a safe weekend, and I do believe that time is short and that we need to get our spiritual houses in order. And so until next time, go in peace. I love all of you. God bless you, and good night.